just started the lesson. Chelsea just finished hers, and I forgot I had to film. So here we are. All right. So we know the triad has 3 notes, has to be arranged in snowman. It doesn't have to, but for now, let's just say that we have to arrange it like this. We don't have to really, because as you can see, we can take one of the notes and move it an octave, and that's what we call inversion. We're not going to talk about that too much, but just know it's out there. So if we rearrange this to look like the snowman, there you go. And you can do the same with G. We can move this E up here, so you have the G in the bottom, and then if you move the G another octave, you'll have the snowman. So as long as you can arrange it in this configuration, it's a triad. If you had something like this, line, sorry, it's not very clear. Line, and a space, that would not be a triad. Because it's G, B, and C. We don't call that a triad. Sometimes you can make that sound like a triad, but it doesn't look like a triad. Okay? All right. So we talked about major and minor, right? I'm just going to make a little table over here. Say major and minor. So what defines a major and a minor triad? Yes. Let's start with major, actually. Only major.
We start with major, third, or minor.
So the third, right? The third is going to define whether it's major or minor. So for a major triad, we're going to have a major third. And for a minor triad, minor third. Exactly. And then, what's the other note we're going to have from the scale? Or I guess it's actually an integral from the root note. So we have the third, right? From the root of the third. And I'm going to explain what the root is right now. What note would this be? The fifth, exactly. So in both cases, major and minor are going to have perfect fifths. By the way, this is what we call a root position. Root position triad, and that's what we're working with right now, as opposed with the inversions. Okay, so root position triad, snowman, looking triad. Okay, good way to remember these is that the name of the triad, major and minor, correspond to the third of each triad. So if you have a major triad, it's going to have a major third, minor triad is going to have a minor third, perfect fifth, all the way. We have other types of triads, 2 or more triads. And that's going to be, we have the augmented triad. And diminished triad. Has anyone heard about that before? Some? Okay. So these are a little trickier because, as you can see in this case, the only thing that changes are thirds, and the fifths stay the same. Over here, in both cases, we're changing thirds and fifths. So there are ways to remember them. So we're going to go through that. So for an augmented, I'm going to skip the thirds for now. Augmented and diminished are going to have the following fifth intervals. What we call an augmented fifth and a diminished fifth. Okay? So if we go back here and look at C major, or I'm just going to write a C, actually. Not necessarily C major, but just a C. We know, there we go. We know that G is what type of fifth from C? Perfect fifth. If I put a sharp here, and I'm making that a G sharp. How many steps? How much larger is that from the original G? Half the bar, right? So a C to a G sounds like this, right? What I'm doing is this. So it has a different sound, right? Perfect fifth, augmented fifth. So that's what we call it, an augmented fifth. And we can signalize that with an A5, augmented fifth. That means we're expanding the interval by 1/2 step. Same thing with diminished fifth. We have the perfect fifth, and we lower it 1/2 step, right? That's a diminished fifth, D5. So again, this is perfect fifth, diminished fifth, okay? And now we can add thirds in there. Oh, sorry, it's not looking great, but say we have a G sharp here, flat here. So we have augmented fifth, diminished fifth. For the augmented triad, we're going to use a major third. And for the diminished triad, we're going to use a minor third. Let's see. So here, C to E, right? What type of triad? Major. C to E, where I'm going to go to G sharp now. Okay, we have a major third, and then from the root, an augmented fifth. That's the sound of the augmented triad. Okay. So, and I'm going to go over the chord symbols too for now. Just know that I'm going to pull that C plus. It's augmented, and I'm going to put the symbols over there for you. Let's do the minor, well, diminished. So this is C to E. I'm going to flat the E, and you feel free to try this in your melodic if you want, or just follow it, right? So C, I'm going to go to E. I'm going to flat it. That's the minor third. And I'm going to go from C to G. And I'm going to flat the G as well. That's the sound of the diminished chord. C diminished. Okay? C. Okay. And I'm going to go over the chord symbols right now. So far, so good with that. We're all following that. Okay. So, what we said so far. Major and minor, and I like grouping them like this. These are normal triads and these are counter triads, I guess. Right? So you're probably going to be working with major and minor triads first, because why start with these, right? These are the weird ones. So remember, major and minor, a way to memorize this. Major triad corresponds to the third, major third, minor triad, minor third. Augmented and diminished. A good way to remember this rule of how thirds change is by looking at the name. So, what are the other words for augmented? Some synonyms you might think about.
Expanded?
Expanded, that's a good one. Change too, for sure, but something's changing, right? Expanded, I like expanded. Maybe expanded, larger, bigger, right? Those are all words for augmented, right? Just gonna say larger. Right? And the first thing that should come to your mind when you hear augmented is the augmented fifth, right? But how do we remember it's a major third? Well, between the minor third and major third, which one is larger? Major third, right? So augmented means augmented fifth. It also means major third, just the largest, or not the augmented third, but the largest, the biggest third you can have. Same with diminished. What's another word for diminished? Smaller. Right, so we might so again, diminished, if this is a normal triad, diminished. First thing that should come to your mind with diminished triad is the diminished fifth half step down, and then which means the smaller third you can have. Minor third, right? Does that make sense? That's just one way, that's how I learned them, my brain works, that's how I remember that. Otherwise, you can just memorize this little thing right here. But yeah, I also associate augmented with major. You can also think like that, and diminished with minor. So you might group augmented and major together and say, okay, does both have major thirds? And minor and diminished together, because both have minor thirds. Okay, so I would just copy this, have this with you, and figure out which one you like best. Like I said, I like thinking about augmented is larger, therefore it has major third. Diminished is smaller, therefore it has a smaller third. Okay, I'll make that one time. Okay, I don't know if you wanted to have a few minutes before that. Okay, I'm just gonna do.
Can I take a picture?
Yes, absolutely. Let's just do a quick drill so you can apply this. Oh, chord symbols. Okay, well, I guess we're just gonna use the chord symbol. Augmented. So for major, we're just gonna use the capital letter. Let's say C. For minor, you're gonna use minor. Sorry, this is gonna be a little bit. For augmented, let's put it like here. Okay, I'm just gonna. Okay, so just I would also copy this. These are the chord symbols. I'm using C as the triad example. For major, you just use the capital letter of the root note. So if it's a C major triad, use a C. If you're using a minor, the symbol for the minor is just the capital letter with minor. Lowercase m. You might also see it with MI. And it's totally fine. For augmented, plus, and for diminished, you're going to put this little circle up here, little top right corner. Okay.
Diminished degrees sign, diminished degrees. I don't know. That's what makes sense to me.
Yeah. In the books, usually say superscript circle or something, so super technical words. So just a little circle. Okay. So those are the chord symbols. So let's build one actually. So I'm gonna put here. Imagine this is the test, right? And they say, let's build an F. All right, let's just go straight to the augmented dimension. No, since this is your first time, let's just do F major. Let's just start. So raising your hand, which note? If I say build an F major triad, what's the second note that I should?
A.
A, exactly. Next one. C. Okay. Imagine I say G minor. A sharp. B flat, because A sharp would be space, right? So I have to go to a line. I know it has to be a third, but it's minor. So what's the minor third from G? Yeah. G flat. What's the next note? E?
D.
D. Exactly. Sorry, that's cool. Let's say, let's say 1, 9, 2. I say C. Let's do diminished. What do I do for C diminished? Sorry? E flat. Nice. Yeah.
G flat.
Exactly. I'm sorry, I'm not great at writing stuff in order. A good thing you can always do, no matter what you have. Imagine I asked for I don't know, let's do like A, and I say like A augmented, right? Something you can always do is just try it first, and then figure out what the notes are, right? So that's also why I wrote this here. So this is where the circle of fifths also comes in handy, because maybe we don't remember yet what sharps are in A, right? But if we look here, these are the sharps in A, okay? So C, is C sharp in A? Yes, right? What type of third does an A augmented need to have?
Major.
Major. So A, C, right? A, B, C. We know it's C. What type of C?
C sharp.
C sharp. Okay, cool. So I know the third has to be sharp. Now, what type of fifth is in an augmented triad? Augmented fifth. Okay, so A, B, C, D, E. Cool. E. Is E sharp in the key of A? No. So is this right? Is that okay? This is how that is sounding right now. We have A. Wait, what am I doing? Sorry. I'm going to do. Does that sound augmented or? So what do I have to do to make it augmented? Yes. Exactly. Boom, there you go. Alright. Since I have one of each, I didn't even realize. One more thing, and I don't know if you said you wanted at least 5 minutes? Okay. Can I take just 2 more minutes? So one more thing we can do to especially remind the remainder of quality, because we're talking about chord quality, and I'm sure you're probably going to go back to major and minor after this and not tackle everything at once. But is to associate each quality, because these are all the different triad qualities you can have. You can associate each of these to a feeling or a sound, right? So F major, for example, which is major, right? What's the typical feeling we associate major with? Sorry?
Like happy.
Exactly, yeah. So we can think of major as happy. This is more for if you have an oral test and you hear something like this. Oh, that sounds happy a little bit, right? I don't know why I put that, but yeah, happy, right? How about G minor or just any minor chord? Sorry? Sober? Somber. Yeah, exactly. Right? Doesn't have that major uplifting quality. It's a little more somber. I would say probably sad, right? There's a few, I don't know, kind of like this. It's not a consensus really, but you're always going to see this. Major, happy, minor, sad, right? These are, you can find all sorts of different, feelings associated to them. Usually, diminished is gonna be scary, and augmented probably mysterious. Surprise.
I was thinking of like surprise Pikachu face.
Right. So diminished, I'm gonna say. Terrifying, something bad just happened. Whereas an augmented, you were really not expecting it, right? So yeah, that's a good way to remember that. I think I went through all of it. So this is probably the most important thing. Just having this. Any questions?